I wish I was one of those wealthy YouTubers who could afford to put a filter on my camera because my skin texture is just not it. Let me just preface this entire video by saying that I am super in love with this look, and I thought that like the stars were aligning for me to make this review. The light outside was wonderful. I had all my stuff to do my hair and get it freshly done. All the ducks were in a row. And when I did my hair, it came out way too dark, and when I started filming, it suddenly started raining, so now it's darker, and I'm having to deal with lighting issues. I tried painting my nails, and I'm just not good at it, so they just kind of look like a hot mess, and I just need a lot of help. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Harley Nouveau, if you did not know. If you would like to skip a few chapters ahead to the review portion of today's video, I will leave a timestamp down below, so just keep an eye out for that, and yeah, jump forward. You don't have to sit here and listen to what I have to say. I'd really appreciate it though. When I first dyed my hair pink in my New Mexico vlog, when I went to go visit Jasmine's family with Jasmine, I really enjoyed it, and I actually liked the way that the color faded throughout the days. And I bought this shirt because it kind of matched the way that one of the fades look. And I've really been into monochrome and monochromatic schemes recently, as you probably can tell from my abundant ColourPop reviews that will be continuing after this one. And we went somewhere, some Mexican restaurant that Jasmine's other best friend Lauren is like super obsessed with. And we go there, and the waiter is a fellow gay, and I'm kind of on edge because one of the things like I've experienced in the gay community is that we have a tendency to be really catty to each other unless we're like romantically attracted. I don't know what it is, maybe it's a territorial thing, I'm not sure. And I was getting some weird energy from him like the entire time. And towards the end, I decided that I want to go ahead and order a drink because Jasmine and Lauren have already ordered drinks. And by drinks, I mean alcoholic drinks, obviously. The guy did not ID them. And I don't think I look that young. So when I asked for a drink, he ID'd me, and I was just confused as to why I got carded and not them. And this fucking waiter says to me, well, around here we ID people that match their hair and shirts together, so. And I have an amazing, no, that sounds egotistical. I have a pretty good sense of humor, and I'm really not bothered by people poking fun at me. I usually laugh along with it, because if you can't make fun of yourself, how are you gonna make fun of somebody else, RuPaul? And I asked Jasmine and Lauren, it wasn't just me. You could tell that it was more than him just making a joke. He clearly was like insulting me. Now, normally I would laugh at something like that, but you could just tell from his tone of voice and the way that he'd been treating me the whole time that, I don't know, maybe he had a problem with me for some reason. I don't know why, because I'm never rude to people in public. It was gross. And after that, he got like even more aggressive the entire time. And I turned to Jasmine and I'm like, we need to go, because there's one thing you'll learn about me. I'm very cool, but I have a really bad temper, and I will beat you down in public if you cross a line with me. So I'm like, I need to get out of here before I throw this drink in his face and proceed to mollywop him up and down this restaurant. He had been kind of a dick the whole time, and he wasn't really a good waiter. He ignored us. So I decided that I'm gonna embrace my inner Caucasian, and I'm gonna use my receipt to let him know how I feel, since clearly he had a problem. And on the tip line, I wrote, sorry, I don't have enough money to tip you. I'm too busy matching my shirt and my hair color. What can I say? I'm petty. But if you've been to my channel before, especially for a makeup video, you'll know that I have two favorite brands, one affordable brand, one a high-end brand. My affordable brand that is my favorite, obviously, is ColourPop. They're featured the most. My high-end brand that I am obsessed with is Jeffree Star Cosmetics. I have like all of his palettes. However, I haven't reviewed all of them, but I have like all of them. One day I'll have everything, but she's poor, so it'll be a while. Rewind back like a month or two, or I don't even know, because I have no semblance of time. And Jeffree Star Cosmetics released its summer campaign, which was candy themed. And I meant to get around to reviewing the palette, the eyeshadow palette, but I never did. I don't know why. So I go on a escapade, that's a car. I go on a expedition, also a vehicle, but the word I'm looking for, with Jasmine around the Galleria Mall in Dallas, Texas. And we stopped by MORPHE, and I convinced her to pick up this. so that A, she can have her first Jeffree Star palette and the color story really fits her, and B, I can film using it when I'm at her house. Lucky for you and me, today is that day, because I will finally be reviewing the Jawbreaker palette that I've already looked it up a few times now, but hey, advertising is my passion. So without further ado, hi Jawbreaker, how are ya? Say hello to our biggest palette we've ever released. The Jawbreaker palette is our take on a rainbow color story, including 24 bright and iconic eyeshadows and pressed pigments. With the same intensely pigmented formulation as our previous palettes, Jawbreaker is filled with blendable mattes, blinding shimmers, and silky metallics. It's also vegan and cruelty-free, and if you get it on the Jeffree Star website, you can only get 3 per customer. But good news, they have Afterpay now, so if you're somebody that buys all of your makeup that way, hopefully you don't ruin your bank account too much. So I actually really do like the packaging on this. It reminds me of obviously a Jawbreaker, and also paint spackling, which, as I'm sure I've mentioned multiple times, I went to school for drawing and painting and I always really enjoyed paint spackle, so. It's not like as extravagant as his Blue Blood and Blood Sugar, but it's not, I mean, it doesn't feel particularly cheap. It's hard, it's sturdy, it's pretty heavy. It does come with a mirror inside, as you can tell. Ooh, that's cool looking. And as previously stated, there are 24 colors in the palette. Now, if I'm right, and I haven't lost my ability to count, there are approximately 7 metallics in here, and the rest are all mattes. Obviously, I'm not gonna swatch all 24 shades because that would just be ridiculous, but I will swatch a couple of the mattes and 2 of the metallics for you because I'm benevolent and kind. I might just actually swatch the ones that I have on my eye because that would just be simpler. The first color that I used for this look was Wow, right here, which is on my inner corner, and that swatched like this. As you can see, it is a tad bit streaky. It's a nice color, I guess. I have a lot prettier yellows in other palettes, and to me, it kind of comes across as urine yellow, but it gets the job done. After that, I used Bubblegum, which swatches like this. That was one swatch. Let me try another one. As you can see from the jump, that one required 2 passes to get the same level of intensity as the yellow. After that, I went in with Gumdrop here, which swatches like that. Good color payout, doesn't seem to be overly streaky. After that, I cut my crease, which you might be able to tell, and moved on to some metallics. The first metallic I jumped into was the Orange Juice on my middle of my lid. And that swatches like that. It's shimmery, it's pretty. Then I moved on to Lemon Drop in my inner corner, which looks like that. Again, very intense color payout. Then on the outer third of my eye, I went in with Bite Me right here, which swatches like that. I don't know why I'm building shapes on my hand. It's like a nice grape color. And then I went in with Soaked on the outer half of my bottom lid, which looks like this. As you can tell, Patchy the House. And then Brain Freeze right here on the inner half. And that looks like that. Nice color, again, a little bit streaky. And for the Piece de Resistance, I went in with Jawbreaker here, the namesake of the palette, on my inner corner and above my brow bone, which you can kind of see. Looks like that. Interesting color, has a little bit of reflect to it. And that's all that I used on this eye look today. Now, I have used this palette before on a photo shoot that I did. You can check out on my Instagram. It was like a 60s themed shoot. And I used a couple different colors on a few of the models. So between that and really taking my time with the colors today and playing around with swatching them on my hand, I think I have a fairly good grasp on the palette and how it works. Which is why, if you are familiar with my channel, what I'm gonna say is probably gonna shock you. As I've mentioned twice, there are 2 specific formulas in this palette, a matte and a metallic. The fact that there are only 2 formulas is not a problem for me. My issue is actually as follows. On the website, it says that this palette right here is the same intensely pigmented formulation as their previous palettes. As I've already said, I own all of his other palettes with the exception of the Alien one, just because it really didn't interest me. Just because it really didn't interest me in particular, the color story or the actual theme. I love outer space, as I'm sure you can tell from me always talking about the star, but this says previous palettes. So it's safe to say that the claim is that the formula in Alien palette is the same as in the Blue Blood palette, etc., etc. And I can tell you right off the bat, that's not true. Coloration for the most part is there, but the formula is in no shape or form the exact same as the previous palettes. For me, I actually found that the metallic formula in this palette really excelled. I didn't have any issues with it other than it is very soft, so you can have a lot of fallout potentially, or it crumbles really easily if you put too much pressure in the pan. But for the mattes, I don't even think that this palette is consistent in itself for the formulas. You can pick any two of the matte colors in here, and odds are they're not gonna perform the same. The very first Jeffree Star palette that I got was actually the Blood Sugar palette, and if you know anything about it, you know that it's basically a bunch of reds and pinks with a few outliers. And the formula on that was amazing, which is why I'm honestly surprised that Bubblegum performs as badly as it does. As you saw when I was swatching it, it took multiple attempts to get the color payout to be equivalent to that of the other mattes that I used. And when I was using it on my eye today and during the photo shoot, I noticed that it was just not very opaque. It came across really patchy. And even in the pan, like when you go to put a brush in it, if I zoom in on it, you can see that the other colors, logo starts to fade away as you use it. And Bubblegum looks the exact same. I don't know if it was just pressed too hard or what the deal is, but I noticed that it wasn't just this color. When using Brain Freeze out of this palette, I had the same exact problem when it comes to it being patchy and not very opaque. Specifically, unfortunately, those were two of the standout colors that I did use in that photo shoot, and it took a lot of effort. Now, that's not to critique all of them. Gumdrop, I think, performed really well. For me, these two also performed really well. Cone performed nicely, and Cute performed nicely. But overall, the matte formulation in this palette just seems to be a bit wonky. And I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think I remember seeing people talk about that issue when I was watching other reviews of the palette. Luckily, the metallics don't have the same issue as the matte. They all perform pretty much exactly the same. Now, there are a few colors in here that I didn't try. I haven't tried this one, and I haven't tried this one. But even swatching them, I can see that this is having the same patchiness issue, this one is not. So part of me is actually rather disappointed with that, because I'm not a fanboy per se. I'm not one of those people that think that just because I like someone, they can do no wrong. But I've never really had a Jeffree Star product let me down like that. Obviously, you can get some really beautiful looks with it. It's called My Own Look Beautiful. And it can get the job done, but I just don't know if it's really worth the inconsistency and the effort it takes to get there. For the color story, I do think that it is pretty cute, actually. And there are moments in here that remind me of other things, like these three right here, low-key reminds me of The Little Mermaid. I think that there's like a really nice variety. You could get a bunch of different looks out of here. I do think that the position and placement in the pan is a bit strange. I probably would not have ordered them the way that they are, but it's definitely a versatile palette when it comes to what you can produce with it. So with all of that being said, let's get on to the actual verdict. When it comes to the Jeffree Star Cosmetics Jawbreaker palette, I'm really sad to say that for me, it's a happily never after. And let me tell you why. Yes, the color story is super cute, and it's a very versatile palette. However, it's not a cheap palette. I think this ran like 60 bucks. And you get a good number of eyeshadows for 60 bucks, but if I'm gonna be spending $60 on an eyeshadow palette, I really am going to need some better consistency when it comes to the way the colors perform. And that really hurts me to say because I really love this brand. But when you break it down, I would argue that at least a good 6 of the matte shades do not perform very well to me. That severely limits how versatile this palette really is at the end of the day. I don't want to spend $60 on 24 colors and be limited to only using like 14 of them to actually produce a look, when I can go out and spend $60 or less on another palette where all of the shades perform equally as well as each other. Also, as well as they perform, I don't want to have to worry about every time I dip into a metallic, I'm gonna destroy the pan because it's just so soft. So despite the things that this has going for it, I really just can't justify going out and buying it for any reason other than if you want to own all of Jeffree Star's eyeshadow palettes. So I'm sure one day I will. I am under the impression that the mini Jawbreaker actually performs a bit differently than the full Jawbreaker palette. So if you are wanting one of the two, I would say probably gamble on that one first. It is a bit cheaper. The color story is a lot more limited, but from what I've seen, they perform well. They all perform well. So yeah, bummer. I mean, kind of bummer. Good for me that I dodged that bullet. Bummer for Jasmine because that's her first impression of a Jeffree Star palette and she got what seems to be kind of a dud in the collection. I will say, all of that aside, this is probably one of my favorite looks I've ever done on myself, but that's more on the colors I picked and less on the performance of this itself. Do you agree with my verdict on this palette? Sound off in the comments below. I would love to see how you feel about it if you were able to try it out or if you haven't and it's just something you're wanting to look into. I always enjoy getting feedback from other people. One of the things I love about the makeup community is how varied it is when it comes to not only style, but opinion. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, please thumbs up and share with your friends so that they can come check it out. Also, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to add your name to the storybook that is my life. And if you do that, don't forget to ring that bell so that you get notifications whenever I upload. I'm really trying to upload twice a week. The day, can't say it's consistent, but I'm a baby channel. I'm just finding my walking legs. Thank you for stopping by, and as always, I am Harley Nouveau, and until our stars next align.